morning everyone. Today in this session we are going to discuss regarding the formation of colored ions. Generally, D block elements they are colored in its aqueous solution because here if you take the electron in D subshell, the electron in D subshell, when the light rays incident on this electron, the electron absorbs the energy and it gets excited to the higher energy level. While coming back, this electron, here, this electron emits the radiation. And this radiation, the frequency of this radiation, if it comes in the visible region, it is the color. Here, if the radiation's frequency comes in the visible region, here its complementary color is observed. For example, here, if this electron in the D subshell absorbs the energy corresponds to the red light, then here the color observed will be its complementary color. That is, here you will see that color will be blue or bluish greeny color. In general, here these D block elements are colored in its aqueous solution because here the water acts as a ligand, hence it is colored in its aqueous solution. If you take the examples, for example, if I take titanium plus 2. Titanium plus 2, here its electronic configuration is argon 3d2. I am comparing the titanium plus 2 with the titanium plus 4. Plus 4 is argon. Here loses electrons and it will form here 3d0. Titanium plus 2 3d2. Here titanium plus 2 is having 2 unpaired electrons. Here the 2 unpaired electrons in the D subshell, they absorb the radiations which is incident on it. They goes to the excited state. While coming back, they emit the radiation, and the radiations here, if it comes in visible, it comes in visible region. Hence, this Ti plus 2 is colored, whereas Ti plus 4 is colorless because there is no any unpaired electrons. Here, the color is due to the presence of unpaired electrons. If partially filled d orbitals are there, then only you can see here. Ti plus 2 is colored, whereas Ti plus 4 is colorless because there is no any unpaired electron for the excitation. Similarly, if I take the copper Cu plus as well as compare with Cu plus. Cu plus 2, here it is colored because of presence of unpaired electrons, whereas Cu plus is colorless. If you see the Cu plus 2, it is bluish green in color. Here Cu plus 2 is having configuration is argon 3d9. Here 9 are there. So you can see one unpaired electron in case of Cu plus 2. Cu plus 2 contains one unpaired electron, hence it is colored, whereas Cu plus is colorless. There is no any unpaired electrons present in Cu plus. The color is due to the presence of partially filled d orbitals. Hence Ti plus 2, among Ti plus 2 and Ti plus 4, Ti plus 2 is colored, whereas Ti plus 4 is colorless. For the 1 mark question you get that among Cu plus and Cu plus 2 which is colored and give reason. Here if you see the metal ions here, copper Cu plus 2, chromium plus 2, cobalt plus 3, vanadium plus 4, they are blue in color. Nickel, iron, Ni plus 2, Fe plus 2 and V plus 3, vanadium plus 3 are green in color. Vanadium plus 2, manganese plus 2 and chromium plus 3 elements are colorless because they don't contain any unpaired electrons. Here, in case of zinc, Zn plus 2, scandium, titanium plus 1, Cu plus they are colorless due to the absence of partially filled d orbitals. Whereas all these are colored because of the presence of unpaired electrons in the d subshell. Here, the color of the compounds is due to the radiations which is emitted. If the radiations emitted by the electrons, if it comes in the visible region, then only it is color. If you take the cupric salts generally they are bluish green in color because these cupric salts they absorb the radiation corresponds to the red light. Here when they absorb the radiation corresponds to the red light, its complementary color is observed. Hence cupric salts are bluish green in color. If you take the titanium plus 3, it is purple color because here the light which is absorbed is a yellow light. Yellow light complementary color is purple. Hence Ti plus 3 is observed is purple color. The color is due to the presence of unpaired electrons. If this unpaired electrons goes to the excited state by absorbing the energy, while coming back it emits the radiation. If the radiation corresponds to the visible region, then its complementary color is observed. Whereas in case of the aqueous solution, all the D block elements here, generally transition elements, they are colored because water acts as a ligand. Hence they are colored in its aqueous solution. After this formation of colored ions, next comes here formation of complex. Formation of complexes. These D block elements generally form complexes here. In the theory part you get for 2 marks question, you have to write 2 points, you get each point 1 mark. Give any 2 reasons for the formation of complexes. Why D block elements form complexes? Give any 2 reasons. Here the 2 reasons you can mention any 2 reasons. Among them is the first one is these D block elements, they are having comparatively smaller size. They are having comparatively small in size. These D block elements are very small inside. To form a complexes here, the center metal ion should have small size. Since these D block elements are having smaller size, hence they generally form a complexes. They are having high ionic charge. High ionic charge. These D block elements, they are having partially filled orbitals. Presence of partially filled d orbitals. If it is completely filled here, it does not form the complexes. If it is partially filled, it generally forms the complexes. By presence of partially filled d orbitals, and here the d orbitals as well as s orbitals, that is n-1 d orbital as well as ns orbital, both are having comparable energies. They are having comparable energies. Comparable energies, that is similar energies of d as well as s subshell. Because of all these properties, here these D block elements generally form complexes. Here it will form complexes of the type K4, Fe, Cn6, will form K3, Fe, Cn6, it will form Ni, the examples of the complexes. Even it will form FeCO5 as a complexes. These are the reasons. Any two reasons if you write, you get 2 marks. After this formation of complexes, next comes here interstitial compounds. Interstitial compounds. Here, they are generally forms the interstitial compounds. What are these interstitial compounds? Here, the small elements like hydrogen, nitrogen, carbon, boron, these small elements, they are trapped into the crystal lattice of a metal. When they are trapped into a crystal lattice of a metal, they form a interstitial compounds. These compounds are known as interstitial compounds. In the crystal lattices, in the cavities, these small elements like hydrogen, nitrogen, carbon, boron, they are trapped into the cavities of metals. Due to this formation, they form compounds known as interstitial compounds, and they are non-stoichiometric here. They are non-stoichiometric. They are neither ionic or nor the covalent. For example, if I take the interstitial compounds like Fe3H, it will form Mn4, N, TiC, BH 0.56 and so on. These are the examples for the interstitial compounds. In the exam you get for 2 marks. One is 1 mark for the definition and 1 mark for the example. What are interstitial compounds? Give one example. Small elements like hydrogen, nitrogen, carbon, boron, they are trapped into the crystal lattice of metals and they form as interstitial compounds. Here, these interstitial, they are non-stoichiometric. They are neither ionic nor the covalent. After forming interstitial compounds, they exhibit the properties. These interstitial compounds, they exhibit properties like high melting point. They are high melting point because of formation of this interstitial. They are very hard in nature. And before there were metals, after forming interstitial compounds also, they retain their metallic character. And they are high metallic conductivity. They retain its metallic character and high metallic conductivity. And these are very inert. That is, they are very less reactive. Interstitial compounds are less reactive. After this interstitial compounds, next comes here the catalytic property. We have seen that these d block elements, the transition elements, they act as a good catalyst. They are very good catalyst here. They are used as a catalyst. For example, if I take iron it is used as a catalyst in the manufacture of ammonia. In manufacture of ammonia by Haber's process, we use the catalyst is the iron acts as a catalyst here. If you take platinum, palladium, nickel, they are used as a catalyst in the catalytic hydrogenation, especially in case of the unsaturated compounds. Here, for example, if I take any alkene, here they act as a catalyst. Here the hydrogen is added across the carbon-carbon double bond. catalytic hydrogenation, addition of hydrogen in presence of catalysts like platinum, palladium, nickel. They are used in the catalytic hydrogenation. And if I take vanadium pentoxide, V2O5, vanadium pentoxide, it is used as a catalyst in the manufacture of sulfuric acid by contact process. Here, the conversion of sulfur dioxide to sulfur trioxide takes place in presence of here vanadium pentoxide as a catalyst. In this way, in many of the reactions, here it acts as a very good catalyst. Why these D block elements acts as a good catalyst? Here we have to know the two reasons. First one is because of its large surface area. It is having large surface area. How to increase the large surface area? We have just now used nickel, platinum, palladium. It is made into finely divided powder. When you make the finely divided powder, here its surface area increases, its active site increases, hence it acts as a good catalyst. To form a large surface area, we have to convert that solid into finely divided powder. Hence its large area increases. First reason is because of its large surface area. Second one is because of its variable oxidation state. They are having comparable energies here and exhibit variable oxidation states. They are having variable oxidation state. Here, why it exhibit variable oxidation states? Because you know that N-1 D substance as well as NS, both are having similar energies. Since they are having similar energies, here it exhibits the variable oxidation state. Because it exhibits variable oxidation state, it acts as a good catalyst. Let us see one example for based on the variable oxidation state, how it acts. If I take here reaction of iodine with that of the pearl sulfate in presence of Fe plus 3 as a catalyst. Here Fe plus 3, when it reacts with iodine ions, here Fe plus 3 gets converted into Fe plus 2 and iodide converts into iodine. In this way Fe plus 3 converts iodide to iodine. First step. Here in the second step, here Fe plus 2, when it reacts with pearl sulfate, S2OA minus is known, minus 2 is known as pearl sulfate. Fe plus 2 converts the pearl sulfate into sulfate. SO4 minus sulfate ions and Fe. Here, if I add these two reactions, overall reactions here, Fe plus 2 gets cancelled. Fe plus 3 gets cancelled here. 2I minus reacts with S2OA minus to pearl sulfate to form iodine and SO4 minus. This takes place in presence of here iron as a catalyst. In this way, here because of its variable oxidation state, iron acts as a good catalyst in the reaction of iodide with the pearl sulfate. Here why it acts as a good catalyst here? One is because of its large surface area and second one is because it is having variable oxidation state. This is very important in the exam or in the exam, that is in the theory part as well as in the competitive part also they ask. After catalytic property, next comes here the alloy formation. Alloys are nothing but alloys are homogeneous solid solutions of metals with the other elements. Here homogeneous solid solutions of metals with the other elements. It indicates that at least the alloy contains at least one should be the metal. Condition is at least it should contain one metal and other elements may be metal or it may be non-metal. Then only there is a formation of alloy takes place. In so many reactions we have seen NaHg. It is known as sodium amalgam. Here mercury it is belongs to the D block elements. If I take that Cu tin, copper and tin, here it is nothing but bronze. If I take copper and zinc, it is a alloy is brass. Similarly, you know that steel contains many are there. Main is iron, carbon, nickel, manganese, even tungsten. Here it depends upon the combination, depends upon the types of stainless steel. To form alloy, at least it should contain one metal, other may be metals or it may be non-metals. This is the formation of alloy. After alloy formation, next comes here the electrode potential. Electrode potential. Is electrode potential here? Here we discuss only the regarding reduction potential. No need to discuss regarding the oxidation. With respect to reduction potential, we will discuss today. Here, if you take any E naught of M plus 2 to M, that is conversion of M plus 2 to M, metal. M plus 2 to M as a metal. Here, M plus 2, it gains 2 electrons and it will form metal. Whenever M plus 2 gains an electron, it will form a metal. Here, the E naught value will be positive. It will be more positive. Here, there is a tendency to form ion as gaining an electron and it is having a tendency to form the metals. And its E naught value will be positive. We call this one as its reduction potential. If E naught of M plus 2 to M, if this M plus 2 readily loses electrons and it will form as M, metal electron. By losing the electron, it will form M will readily loses electrons to form M plus 2 and 2 electrons, then it is known as oxidation. Oxidation and its potential is known as oxidation potential. E naught will be negative. More the negative, it is having tendency to lose the electron and it will form as M plus 2. Here losing the electrons, here its oxidation potential increases. If it gains electron, here its reduction potential increases. Only today we should study regarding reduction potential. Here it increases or it decreases. In these D block elements, here in the first row transition elements, in first row transition elements, if we take first row transition elements, in first row transition elements, here except copper, here E naught for copper Cu plus 2 to Cu is positive. It is having 0.34 volt. Except copper, all these metals they are having negative electrode potential. Only copper is having positive electrode potential. Exceptional case is copper. Because here copper gains Cu plus gains 2 electron and it will form a stable metal copper. Hence its electrode potential is 0.34. Here if we want to convert copper, it is solid to Cu plus to aqueous. The stable metallic solid metallic copper, if you want to convert into its aqueous form, here it requires very high energy, high electrode potential is required, and this electrode potential is not balanced by its hydration enthalpy. Hence it is high positive value. Exceptional cases, only for copper it is positive value. And this copper here, it does not easily react with all the acids. It does not react with all the acids and converts into its salt. Only this copper undergoes a reaction with some of the oxidizing agents like HNO3. It reacts as well as when it reacts with hot sulfuric acid. Only you can see the reaction of copper. Copper reacts with the nitric acid to form cupric nitrate. It reacts with the hot sulfuric acid to form copper sulfate. Only in such cases the copper reacts. Whereas this copper does not react with all the acids and does not liberate the hydrogen. Here in first row transition elements, here when you move from left to right, the negative electrode potential goes on decreasing. It becomes less negative because of the increase in the here it becomes very less negative when you move from left to right in the first transition elements. Here let us see some of the examples like Mn plus 2. Mn plus 2, it is high stable D5 configuration, as well as Zn plus 2 also it is high stable D10 configuration. Mn plus 2 and Zn plus 2 having stable D5 as well as D10 configuration. Hence they are more negative. They are having more negative. They are having more negative E0 values in case of Mn plus 2 as well as Zn plus 2 because of stable half filled and completely filled configuration. If I take this one for in case of scandium, E0 for M plus 3 to M plus 2. Here if I take for scandium, scandium is having low electrode potential here. Here scandium is having low electrode potential, whereas the zinc is having high electrode potential. We are studying with respect to reduction potential only. Scandium here in its plus 3 to plus 2 it is having low, whereas zinc plus 2 Zn plus 2 it is having high because in Zn plus 2 it attains a stable configuration, that is D10 configuration, whereas in scandium here it does not attain the stable configuration, hence its E0 value will be low. If I take in case of E0 for Mn plus 3 to Mn plus 2. Here Mn plus 2 is having D5 configuration. This Mn plus 3 is having D4 configuration. Here. So what happens here? Its reduction potential increases from Mn plus 3 to Mn plus 2. Its reduction potential increases. And it is having high reduction potential. High reduction potential because of the stable Mn plus 2, it attains stable half-filled configuration, hence its reduction potential is very high in case of Mn plus 2. Here E0 for Fe plus 2 to Fe plus 3. E0 for Fe plus 2 to Fe plus 3 here. What happens here? Fe plus 2 is having 3d6 configuration, and and this Fe plus 3 is having 3d5 configuration. Here the E naught value for this one is low because Fe plus 3 after Fe plus 2 after losing 1 electrons it attains a stable Fe plus 3 configuration. It is stable and its E naught value is low. This is about the electrode potential. In the next session we discussed regarding the potassium dichromate, its manufacture as well as its reaction as well as product. Thank you.